his lifts went up 20 pounds on push press and 45 pounds on deadlift. He kind of looked at me and he was like shocked, and he was like, I didn't realize how much stronger I was getting. And I was telling him, like, a good program, that's what it should feel like. You're coming in, you're punching the clock, you're getting better, you're putting the work in, you're working hard, but you're not exhausting yourself and grinding your teeth. And then when it's time to test and realize that strength, you go, wow, look how much progress I've made. And that's what training should look like. What's up? I wanted to make a video about mistakes that I commonly see athletes make when they're training in the off season. All right, mistake number one that I see is athletes training to failure all the time. Yes, it's true that you do want to work hard, and working hard is going to bring you success, but you want to work smart too. The problem with always training to failure is the hit it takes to your central nervous system when you do that. So if you train to failure all the time, number one, you're more likely to get injuries. Number two, that nervous system, it's going to be so fatigued, it's going to greatly reduce your performance on your jumps, your throws, your sprints, all the things that arguably matter a lot more for your sport. So while there is a time and a place for testing your strength, we let athletes kind of go heavier than their typical percentage range about once a month. You don't want to be doing it all the time. And if you're doing something simple like dumbbell curls or some arm workouts, yeah, you could probably train to failure safely. But on back squats, cleans, deadlifts, presses, bench presses, typically not a good idea. Mistake number two that we commonly see with athletes is training like a bodybuilder. While we can get some good ideas from bodybuilding type training to build some lean muscle mass, you don't want to get the majority of your training principles from bodybuilding if you're trying to run faster, jump higher, hit harder, etc. So what that can look like is outrageous volumes in terms of a ton of sets and a ton of reps. Can make you so sore and kind of slow you down when we're trying to run faster. Doing like one body part per week and then doing a ton of isolation work. Probably not a good idea as an athlete that should be prioritizing compound movements. Where I like to look at in terms of an inspiration for how to train athletes, obviously you can look at Division I strength and conditioning programs. They're going to be doing sprints, jumps, the basics, but also I really like to look at track and field. And the reason being because in track and field, there's so little variables and the coach is in control of all of the training, weight room, the sport practice, which could be throwing or sprinting. And you either got faster or you didn't at the end of the day. So they're really good at ruthlessly looking at their program to see what works and what doesn't work and what transferred to actually running faster or actually jumping higher or actually throwing further. So with that in mind, what do we want our training to look like? What's the prescription? What are we going to see that's common amongst both track coaches and D1 strength conditioning programs? Number one, you're going to see a lot of compound movements prioritized. Olympic lifting variation. 90% of track athletes do some variation of that. Your squats, your hinges, your presses, your pulls, your chin-ups, the big bang for your buck movements, and getting really good at those movements. The next thing that you'll see that's common is, yes, you will see hard work, consistent training, but you're not going to see training to failure all the time because that's going to have a detrimental impact on your sprints, your jumps, your throws, practicing your sport, whatever that is. You don't want to let the lifting take such a priority that it's taking away from everything else. In terms of actual intensity, measured intensity, that's a percentage of your 1 rep max. What you'll see is around 80 to 85% of the lifts are performed in the 70 to 85% range. So you're doing a lot of work with moderate weights. In terms of volume, these are some general guidelines, but for your Olympic lifts, you typically see somewhere around 6 to 15 total reps in that Olympic lifting variation. As an example, if you're doing hang cleans, maybe you're doing 5 sets of 3 on the high end of volume. Or maybe you're doing something like 6 heavyish singles on the really low end of the volume. For your power lifts, like your back squat, your deadlift, your press, your bench press, you're probably looking at something along the lines of 15 to 25 reps. So you're looking at maybe 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 5, 4 sets of 5, something along those lines for volumes. And then for your accessory work, like your rows or your chin-ups, pull-ups, core work, etc., you're probably looking at somewhere around 24 to 36 reps. So you're looking at like 3 sets of 8, maybe 3 sets of 12, something like that. Your sessions should probably look something like you come in, you warm up, you do your faster, most explosive stuff first. So like your sprints, your change of direction work, your plyometrics, etc. Then maybe you go into slightly faster movements like your Olympic lifting variations, then your main strength movements, and then your accessories at the end. And your workouts should probably be somewhere around 60 minutes. Again, maybe a little bit longer, maybe an hour and a half max, maybe more like 45 minutes some days. But that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of volume, intensity, and the duration of your work. In terms of effort, you're probably looking at, on your lifts, maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10 on most of your lifts. You want to think about strength training as practice. You're practicing the movements. It's got to be heavy enough, but it doesn't need to be so heavy that you're not sure if you're going to survive the set every single time you do it. And then from week to week, what you're looking at is you want to kind of take 3 steps forward and 1 step back. That's very common practice in strength conditioning programs, powerlifting programs. It's called a deload week often, but you're kind of increasing load, going a little bit heavier, going a little bit heavier. And then on that 4th week, you want to kind of take a step back, give your body some time to recover so you can start to hit it hard again the next week. You don't want to do the same thing all the time. You don't want a routine where you do 3 sets of 8 on bench and you have been doing that for like over a year. You want to make subtle changes to the volume and the intensity probably about every single month. The goal as an athlete should be long-term consistency, steady progress over the long haul, not short-term intensity. It's not about if you can do 3 workouts in a day or survive German volume training of 10 by 10. You want to work hard, but you want to work smart. And you're trying to turn your body into a racehorse, not necessarily a workhorse, where you want to be able to explode, be fast, train those kind of attributes in the gym, not just be able to do a lot of work at kind of like a moderate intensity. The last thing I'll leave you with is just kind of a personal anecdote of one of our varsity baseball players. He's really good, and he was training and he was coming in and he was kind of practicing his lifts and not working overly hard. He was training consistently, but it wasn't like he was wondering if he was going to survive the next set. And then after about 10, 11 weeks of that, we let him test his strength and everything just skyrocketed. Not only, I mean, his jumps and his sprints were going up too, but his lifts went up, 20 pounds on push press and 45 pounds on deadlift. And he kind of looked at me and he was like shocked. And he was like, I didn't realize how much stronger I was getting. And I was telling him like that is kind of a good program. That's what it should feel like. Like you're coming in, you're punching the clock, you're getting better, you're putting the work in. You're working hard, but you're not exhausting yourself and grinding your teeth. And then when it's time to test and realize that strength, you go, wow, look how much progress I've made. And that's what training should look like.